Okay, so what if I told you that being the quiet one in the room isn't a weakness, but actually a hidden superpower? Today we're going to dive into the psychology behind silence and totally flip the script on what it means to be an observer.
You know that feeling, right? You're at a party or maybe in a big meeting at work, and you're the one just kind of hanging back, taking it all in. You're listening way more than you're talking. Now, a lot of people might look at that and think, oh, they're just shy or maybe even uninterested. But the real story, the psychological truth behind that silence, it's way more interesting and complex than you'd think. So look at this. On one side, you've got all the usual labels people throw around, right? Shy, uninterested, insecure, weak. That's what the world tends to think. But the reality, it's a completely different universe. That silence is an empty space. It is packed with activity, observing, processing, thinking. Psychology is telling us that what's really going on is something most people completely miss. So let's jump right in and unpack this whole idea of the misunderstood observer. Because what looks like just sitting back and doing nothing is actually a super powerful way of engaging with everything around you. Okay, if you remember one thing today, let it be this. Your silence is not a weakness, it's actually a sign that your mind is processing everything on a much deeper level. Think about it like an iceberg, right? People only see that little tip above the water, but underneath, that's where all the real action is. The analysis, the connecting of dots, it's all happening in that quiet. All right, so what does that deeper thinking actually look like in the real world? What are the signs? Well, let's get into the specifics, the actual hallmarks of a quiet observer. These are basically their superpowers. Okay, check this out. These are the telltale signs. They notice the little things that everyone else just steamrolls past. And when they're listening, they're not just waiting for a gap to jump in and talk. Nope, they're actually listening to understand. They can read a room like a book. They're the ones who'll catch that tiny frown on someone's face in a meeting that signals "I'm confused" when no one else sees it. And because they're so intentional, when they finally do speak, man, those words have weight. They are the calm center in the middle of chaos.
And this gets to a really important point. For an observer, listening isn't passive. It's not just, letting sound waves hit your eardrums. It's way, way more than just hearing.
It's about absorbing everything. The body language, the tone of voice, the words being said, and maybe most importantly, the words that aren't being said. They're taking in all these different streams of information at once, and it builds this incredibly rich, detailed picture of what's actually going on. All right, let's talk about that pause. You know the one. You ask a quiet person a question, and there's this silence, this hesitation before they answer. And so often people see that and think, oh, they don't know the answer, or they're being indecisive. But really, it's the total opposite. That pause is the sign of a mind that cares way more about getting it right than getting it fast. Their brain is literally sifting through the first easy answers to find the best one. It's a deliberate choice, accuracy over speed, every single time.
And check out this quote from Psychology Today. It really nails it. The ability to hold contradiction without collapsing is a hallmark of sophisticated thinking. Whoa. So being okay with things being complex and messy, not just rushing to a simple answer, that's actually a sign of a really advanced mind. And that's exactly what's happening inside that quiet moment.
So you might be wondering, is there a scientific reason for all this? A biological thing going on? Well, yeah, turns out there is. Let's dig into the science behind these amazing observation skills. The term scientists use is sensory processing sensitivity, or SPS. And it's super important to get this. It's not a disorder or something wrong with you. It's just a personality trait. All it means is that your nervous system is basically wired to process information, sights, sounds, even emotions, more deeply than the average person. Now, not every quiet person has it, but it's really common for people who are naturally super observant.
And one of the key things that comes with SPS is this natural tendency to pause to check. So, before they act or speak, especially in a new situation, their brain just automatically hits the pause button to observe and figure things out. See? That's that exact same thoughtful pause we were talking about earlier.
So what does this mean in day-to-day life? Well, it means these are the people who notice the super subtle stuff, the faint noise in the background, the tiny fleeting change in someone's facial expression. They pick up on all these social and emotional details that just go right over most people's heads. And that's what makes them so incredibly intuitive and empathetic.
Okay, let's pull all this together, because the big takeaway here, the most important thing I want you to get from this, is that if you're one of these quiet observers, you have to start seeing that trait for what it really is. It's a strength.
So, let's be absolutely clear. Your silence is not emptiness. It's not some awkward void that you need to fill up with chatter just for the sake of it.
What it is awareness, a state of heightened awareness. It's a space where you're seeing the world in incredible detail. It's like you're watching the movie of life in high def while everyone else is watching a grainy old video.
It is also control, the power to actually choose how you respond instead of just reacting on impulse. It's that ability to be the calm center when everything around you is chaos.
And when you put it all together, what is it? It's your advantage, your unique edge. Seriously, in a world that never ever stops talking, your ability to actually listen, to see, to understand, and then to act with purpose, that is a genuine superpower.
So, I'm going to leave you with a little challenge. Next time you're in a group, lean into it. Embrace being the quiet observer. And just ask yourself, what's one thing I noticed because I was really listening, and not just waiting for my turn to talk? Drop it in the comments below. I'd honestly love to hear what kinds of superpowers you guys uncover.